Change your mindset. Life will change. A powerful story of a beggar. The Bridge and the Broken Man. The sun had barely risen over the skyline of New York City when the cold morning wind carried the scent of burnt coffee and asphalt. Beneath the Manhattan Bridge, sitting on a flattened cardboard box, was a man named Robert Hayes. To most people, he was invisible, just another beggar in a city too busy to care. His hair was matted, his beard thick with gray, and his jacket hung off him like a piece of forgotten cloth. A paper cup sat between his feet, with a few coins clinking at the bottom. He stared at the passing crowd. Expensive coats, polished shoes, phone screens lighting up faces that never looked his way. "Spare some change, sir?" he asked, as a man in a suit walked by. The man didn't slow down. Robert sighed and leaned back against the cold wall. "Another day," he muttered to himself. "Another dollar, if I'm lucky." He wasn't always like this. Once upon a time, he was a man with ambition, with a future. He'd owned a small construction company, had a wife named Elaine, and a modest house in Queens. They dreamed of growing old together, of saving enough for a little cabin by the lake. Then life began to unravel, one thread at a time. The recession hit first. Contracts dried up, bills piled in. Then Elaine fell sick, lung cancer. The medical bills buried them. And when she died, something inside Robert died too. He stopped showing up to work, stopped paying rent, stopped caring. Within months, he was evicted. Now, 3 years later, he lived under a bridge, surviving on leftovers and loose change. And though the city never noticed, the ache of being forgotten cut deeper than hunger ever could. The boy with the coffee. That morning, as the traffic roared above and the city came alive, a young man stopped in front of Robert's. He wore a gray hoodie and carried 2 steaming cups of coffee. His sneakers were scuffed, his backpack worn. Not rich, but not poor either. "Morning," the young man said with a genuine smile. Robert looked up, squinting. "You're talking to me?" The young man nodded and held out one of the cups. "You look like you could use this." Robert hesitated. "What's in it?" "Just coffee," the boy said, laughing softly. "No strings attached." Robert took the cup slowly. The warmth seeped into his hands like sunlight after a storm. He hadn't held something warm in days. "Thank you," he said quietly. "I'm Michael," the boy said, sitting cross-legged beside him. "I see you here every morning when I take the subway." "Yeah? You're one of those people who likes to talk to bums for good karma?" Robert asked, half sarcastically. "No, man. I just think people have stories worth hearing." Robert smirked. "My story is not a happy one." "Maybe not," Michael said, sipping his coffee. "But it's still yours." For the first time in months, Robert found himself talking. He told Michael about Elaine, about the business, about how everything went wrong. He didn't sugarcoat the pain, and Michael didn't interrupt. He just listened. When Robert finished, there was a long silence. Then Michael said softly, "You know, my dad used to say, when you lose everything, that's when you're free to choose who you really want to be." Robert chuckled bitterly. "Your dad sounds like a motivational speaker." Michael grinned. "Nah, he was a janitor, but he had a good head." He pulled a small brown notebook from his backpack and handed it to Robert. "This helped me when I was going through depression. Write in it. Don't write about what's wrong. Write about what's left." Before Robert could respond, Michael stood. "I gotta run. See you around, man." And just like that, he was gone, leaving behind a coffee cup, a notebook, and a spark of something Robert hadn't felt in a long time: hope. The first words. The notebook sat beside Robert for days, untouched. Every night he'd stare at it, wondering what good words could possibly do. "What's left?" he'd mumble. "Nothing's left." But one night, when the city lights flickered across the dark water, Robert picked it up. The pages were blank, clean, pure, untouched by the world's dirt. He found a half-broken pen in his pocket and wrote his first words in shaky handwriting. "I'm still breathing." He stared at the sentence for a long time. It felt stupid, simple, but also true. The next morning, he added another line. "I can still see the sunrise." Then another. "Someone gave me coffee today." Days turned into weeks, and the notebook began to fill. His entries grew longer. Memories of Elaine, thoughts about the people who passed by, even little drawings of pigeons and park benches. He didn't realize it at first, but something inside him was shifting. He started washing his face at the shelter, trimming his beard with a broken razor he found, folding his blanket neatly. The world hadn't changed, but he had started to. The shift. It began with small things. Robert started greeting people who passed by. "Good morning," he'd say, with a smile. Some ignored him. Some smiled back. A few dropped coins, but that wasn't what mattered. One morning, a woman in a red coat stopped and said, "You look different today." Robert laughed softly. "Maybe I am." He began reading books from the public library, mostly old self-help ones left in the donation bin. He'd sit by the bridge during the day, reading lines aloud to himself. One that stuck with him said, "Your thoughts create your reality." It sounded ridiculous at first, but the more he wrote, the more he began to believe it. He stopped calling himself a beggar. He started calling himself a man rebuilding his life. The difference seemed small, but it changed everything. The test. One stormy night in November, Robert's cardboard home was soaked by rain. The cold wind whipped through his clothes, and he huddled under the bridge, clutching his notebook like a lifeline. Lightning split the sky, and for a moment he thought, "I could die right here, and nobody would care." Then, he heard a faint voice. A woman crying under the same bridge, clutching a thin blanket around her shoulders. She was young, maybe 20, trembling with fear. Robert crawled over, gave her half his blanket, and said, "Hey, it's gonna be okay." She looked up, startled. "You're helping me?" He nodded. "Someone helped me once. Guess it's my turn." They talked all night, and for the first time, Robert felt like he still had something to give. By morning, when the rain stopped, he gave her Michael's old advice: "Change your mindset, and your life will change." The words felt powerful coming from his lips, not as a lesson, but as truth. A second chance. Weeks passed. One morning, Robert was sitting near the subway entrance, notebook open, when he saw Michael again. "Hey, the writer returns," Michael said, grinning. Robert stood up, smiling wide. "You have no idea what that notebook did for me." Michael sat beside him. "Tell me." Robert opened the notebook, now nearly full. The pages were covered in neat handwriting, sketches, and ideas.